Okay, we are live, and wait for everything to catch up here. And oh, camera's a little off.
Do I need to adjust my height?
Well, I don't know. We'll look in the camera and see. Okay, fine. Move a little that way.
Hello, Wendy.
All right, there
Hello,
we go.
Laura.
Hello, Wendy. Hello, Laura. Can you guys see us and hear us okay? Let us know just before we get started here. How'd that happen?
How'd that happen? What?
Oh, no, I forgot. That's the delay. I'm looking at the wrong one there because I saw my hand come up on the screen, but that was a second or so ago.
Hi, Patsy.
Hi, Patsy. So, see who else is going to join us, and then we'll get started here in another 10 seconds or so. And hope everybody's had a good week, and we're getting close to Christmas. Laura, yes to both. Okay, great. Thank you, Laura. So, good to know. Hi, Marilyn. Okay, so everything sounds good. All right, great. Okay, so let's get started. And let's start with what's Walter working on. Hi, Angel.
Well, I just finished my shirt, and I'm wearing it. So it came out pretty good. I like the way it fits. Actually, I was afraid it would be a little too tight, but it's fine. And it's looking okay.
Yeah, looks good. It looks very nice. So now you can work on mine.
Yeah.
Hi, Dana.
And we determined that Steve will fit into the same size, so I can...
Well, would there have been anything, if anything, you'd have to take it in for me. Yeah, I'm just going to move this camera down a bit. Just adjust it a little bit. Well, I don't think that made any difference. But anyways, yeah, so, yeah, well, it looks pretty good. So what's the next project?
Your shirt.
Oh, my shirt. Okay. And mine's going to have a pocket, though, right?
Yeah, I don't have a pocket on this one.
Mhm.
Actually, I usually put a pocket on, but then we didn't end up doing it in class, and by the time I got to finishing it, I decided not to put the pocket on. I don't really use pocket that much, but you do.
Yeah, well, I need it for my glasses. That's why. I mean, I didn't matter to me, but I need a place to put my glasses now because, you know, I don't wear them for everything. I only read them or use them for reading and for
That's
looking at the
okay.
computer.
I can put a pocket on.
Yeah, well, you are going to put a pocket on. As if this was up for debate. I don't think so. Donna's here. Hi, Donna. Hi, Marilyn. Yep, so everybody likes your shirt. That's
Okay,
nice.
that's great. Actually, it feels really comfortable on the fabric. It's 100% cotton, but it's almost in between a cotton and a flannel, so it's actually quite comfortable.
Yeah, and I've got a quilt that matches it
Yeah.
because I used that same fabric to make a quilt back a while ago. So, anyways, okay, so that's all you got to show us.
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
Well, you haven't been very productive, have you?
Well, I've been cleaning up my shelves too, so.
Oh, yeah, you reorganized your fabric, right?
Well, I haven't done yet. I'm not done yet.
Oh, jeez.
And I was busy packaging a Christmas present for you this afternoon.
Oh, were you? Oh, yay. I haven't packaged any of your stuff yet. So, well, get around to that at some point. Although, if you looked at our tree, it's loaded with gifts under it. But
Yeah,
because
I was trying to figure out which one were mine.
none of them. I didn't want to get them mixed up until we deliver all the other ones to the various parties. We got all those ones for the ladies at Ultimate Sewing. And then we've got ones for our great nieces, and then there's one for your sister and husband, and there's one for my sister and her husband, and then there's one for my nephew and
What's
my
in that?
niece. What?
What's in my sister and my head?
Those two placemats and matching
Oh, okay,
napkins and
yeah,
that
okay,
with it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that. Geez, you're right out of it, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Patsy says make one with quilted fabric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What,
Thought
a
about
shirt?
it.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think it would be kind of bulky.
Yeah, I think that quilted one. I
I
mean,
was going to do one that's color blocked out at some point, but I haven't done that yet.
yeah. Although you could get a really thin, you could use a battleizer in it, but it'd still be very, very warm. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Like
I would think more of making a
Hi,
quilted
Jeannie.
type style jacket or something.
Yeah, well, a jacket or a vest kind of a thing,
Yeah.
or that, yeah, because you see lots of those. Actually, those are very trendy right now, in quilted jackets and stuff. At least for ladies, I've seen videos where people go to thrift stores and buy old quilts and remake them into
Actually, I have a
jackets and things.
pattern for a bomber jacket that has a has a basically a quilted exterior on it.
Yeah, Patsy says it could be a lightweight jacket, but I would still think that the quilting in it is going to make it fairly heavy. I don't know.
No, actually, the that bomber jacket pattern I have
Yeah.
is for a lightweight quilted
Oh, okay.
jacket.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And what do you put in it to make for the quilting?
I don't know. I'm not sure yet. We were going to do it as another project in
Oh,
the class, but I don't know. I haven't really. I've got the pattern. I haven't really read the pattern.
should read the
It's a
pattern.
Ron Collins pattern.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, then it must be okay. So, yeah, all right. So there's a future project. Leroy says making short sleeve shirts for summer would be great.
Yeah, I'm really good at that.
Yeah, he's
One
good.
thing, one thing I don't like about making long sleeve shirts is doing the placket and the cuffs and everything.
Yeah,
Short sleeve shirts, you don't have to do the
I
placket.
know. We could use more short sleeve shirts though. I could use
Yeah,
the pants.
I can whip them off pretty quick.
I could use some pants.
Yeah, well, I can do that too.
Mhm.
Actually, they're not that hard.
No, well, I could use a pair of pants because I don't have any pants. All I have is black jeans.
Mm.
That's it anymore. I went through my wardrobe back there about a year ago.
I
And
should let you try my what do you call it? You know, the white pair that I bought. The
oh,
sample
your
pair,
Muslim?
my Muslim, to see how well you fit into
Yeah.
that.
Well, that would be good too. Yeah. Okay. Whole road wardrobe. Rented lips.
And I've got fabric for it too.
Oh, well, okay. Well, get on with it. Really. Mush. Sweatshop.
Much, much.
So, what have I been working on? Well, I just finished something. I'm going to show you a picture of it. I just finished it about an hour ago. And well, let me get it up here first. And show this.
Here's Hershey's Kisses.
Right. Yeah. So I just finished this. This is actually it was a kit. I bought the kit about a month or so ago from a place out in BC called Cottage Treasures, I think it was. And I just, because I'm into gnomes these days, and it was a table runner kit. It came with the fabric, although they shortchanged me on some of the fabric for the appliques. But I thought it was just kind of cute. Didn't take long really to make, and it used that little twister. If you saw my Idiot Quilter episode about a week ago or so, I was talking about this little ruler that makes those windmill pieces that are in the black with the pattern in them. And I had bought one of those tools just as an impulse buy when we'd gone up to pick up the batting at Kawartha Quilting. And then I hadn't gotten this pattern yet, the kit. And when the kit came, it said it used this template for it. And I thought, well, good thing I picked one up because I didn't know that. Well, then I opened up the package. Guess what came in the kit? The ruler, the template as well. So I've got two of them now. But they're kind of a novelty item. But when I saw the little gnomes and that, I thought that was kind of fun and putting it together. So yeah, it's not a huge table runner. It's only a couple of feet long. I think maybe works out to about 30 inches long or something like that. But I did do free motion quilting on it. I did it though on the domestic machine. I didn't do it on the long arm because, well, for the size of this, and I just did sort of a scribble kind of pattern, mainly because I had to go around the gnomes. So, I did debate whether I should just do like
Quilt
walking
over top.
foot and just do it all over top of the gnomes. But then I thought, well, maybe you don't want to do it that way. So, and they actually had a video showing how to put this together, the company that I bought it from, and he was doing free motion quilting on it as well too. So actually I started with one thread that a sulky, which my machine does not like that brand of thread, but I thought I'd give it another try, and it worked along for a while, and then it broke. My thread kept breaking. So I changed the needle. I went to a little larger eye on the needle, and it still kept breaking. And so I decided, cut my losses. I want to use that thread because it was a variegated in reds and greens, like Christmas colors and stuff. I thought that would look nice. So I got all this part down here on the bottom kind of done just around the gnomes. And then I decided, nope, I'm not going ahead with this thread. So I pulled it all out. It took me about half an hour to rip out all of that again. And then I redid it in just a very light gray color on the front. No, I did white. I just used white on the front because I kind of didn't want to take away from the gnomes, and I didn't want to take away from the pattern that's here either. I don't know if I would use these colors. If I was to make this one again, I don't think I would necessarily go to these grays and blacks. That's what came in the kit. Looks okay, but I think I'd use something a little different with it. Which I think it would look kind of cool in blues and purples and stuff. But then again, if you want it to be a Christmassy thing,
Yeah.
more or less, although that's not really, I mean, with the exception of the red, the rest are not Christmas
do they have
cups.
noses?
Yeah, they do, but it doesn't come out in the picture. Yeah, they've got little, see right there, that one?
Oh, okay.
There, blow them up.
Yeah, they sort of look like they have them on this picture, but I couldn't see.
Yeah, there's noses. That was it was sort of a fleshy colored fabric that they supplied for that. But where I didn't have enough fabric was in making the hats and the bodies. And I had them scrunched straight up in the whole bit, but they needed another little piece. So I just grabbed some batik from my collection. Theirs is the dotted one that came with it. And I grabbed these batiks I had. And the same with the hats. There wasn't enough, so I grabbed another piece of batik out of my stash. And it kind of annoyed me because I'm paying for this. And you see, this could be two sizes. They were using something called the Little Twister template, but there's one that's called the Mini, which is a little smaller. And so the elves, or not the elves, the gnomes, the pattern, there's a separate pattern for those gnomes in the applique because they were slightly smaller. And I think what came in the package was the fabric for the tinier ones than for this size. So maybe whoever was cutting them in the store kind of got them mixed up in the packages. I mean, not really a biggie, but when you pay for it,
Yeah,
you
I
know. And I thought about sending them a message about it, but is it really worth it? Yeah, I made it. I was able to do it, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's one thing that I was up to. Let me get out of this. And back to us. And there we are. We're back. And what are people saying? Cute table runner. Love the table runner. Really love the gnomes. Awesome table runner. Thank you all. I have got to send you a picture of my quilt using the Twister template. Yeah, I'd like to see that, Patsy. In fact, Patsy, if you send that to me and send a little blurb about it, like a couple of sentences, I'll feature it on a future Idiot Quilter broadcast as well, because you probably know this, but that's what I do. I'm always looking for things to show that people have created. So anyways, that's what I've been making, and just put together a couple of gift bags for the girls, for our great nieces. And I made them Santa Claus pencil holder cup. Actually, I can show you what it looks like, because I made one for myself too, because I thought it was kind of cute. So I'm using it to hold sewing stuff. Theirs is in rainbow colors, but it's a good size. And you see there's Santa on the front of it, and in the cup. And they can put, and I got them some colored pencils and markers, and I filled them up with that. And I made them a little Christmas pouch too, a little Santa. I didn't take any pictures of the Santa pouches, but I did make them a little Santa pouch, a little zippered pouch. Looks like Santa. And I put colored candy canes, multicolored candy canes in that. So, and now Walter thinks I should put my latest 3D printed creation in these girls' bags. It'll keep them entertained. It's called an infinity block. And you print this out on the 3D printer, and you see what it does. You can fold it in different formations. It's basically what they call a fidget tool or something like that. But it's kind of neat because this whole thing printed out just like that, all in one piece. I didn't have to attach anything. And I thought it was kind of cool. So I'm going to make a couple more of these and throw them in the bag for those girls as well. So every time I think I'm done making Christmas presents, another thing comes up. I don't know what I'm going to do with the gnome thing. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to give that to anybody or just keep it myself or whatever.
Gnome alone.
Gnome alone, yeah. I mean, do I need another table runner? Not really. I'm running out of tables to put table runners on. And of course I could. No, I'm giving my sister that one, the braided one that I made. I can give it to your sister, but I don't think she uses table runners.
Probably not. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. And can give it to your niece Karen, but she definitely doesn't use table runners. Anyways, but yeah,
not unless her house has changed inside.
Yeah, well, I don't think it has much. But anyway, so yeah,
might have made something for the dog though.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm afraid of giving her a quilt, because it might become the dog's bed. I mean, I'd make the dog a dog bed. I mean, that's fine. I've got lots of scrap fabric.
I don't know if the dog sleeps on a dog.
I know. I have a feeling that dog sleeps wherever it wants to, and it's not a little dog. She's got a huge dog. So. Yeah. Hi, Morgan. Yeah. So, anyways, that's what I've been up to, and so what else? Well, you know my saying: a day without a delivery from Amazon is a day without sunshine. So, I ordered. Okay, let me back up. This was help I got from some subscribers here. I was talking about making binding for a quilt. Well, I showed my latest quilt to one of the ladies down at Ultimate Sewing, and she was asking me how large I cut my binding strips. And I said, well, I usually do them 2.5 inches, and then, you know, you fold them in half, and if you're a quilter, you know what I'm talking about. And she said, have you ever tried cutting your strips 2.25 inch? Because she thinks that it's easier to stitch right along the part that sits on the top of the quilt, that's very visible, and you get less of a little bit of a space underneath it. And I've heard of that technique before, but I've never really tried it. And I never tried it because basically I didn't have a ruler to cut 2.25 inch strips. Now, I could have cut 2.25 inch strips, you know, using the markings on my cutting board and mat, that kind of thing, and a ruler. I mean, it's not that difficult to do. But I have that Stripology ruler, and that's those great big ones that have the slots in them, and they're marked off in 1/2 inch increments. And so that's just very easy, because you're usually working with a large piece of fabric when you're making binding, because you cut from selvage to selvage, and it makes short work of it. So that's why I never bothered trying 2.25 inch. So I did try on the last quilt, the one I showed you last week, the scrappy quilt. That one I did cut 2.25 inch strips, but I had to do it by lining it up on my cutting mat and doing it that way. I couldn't use the Stripology ruler. Then somebody wrote to me, because I explained that in the Idiot Quilter last week, said, yeah, your Stripology will do it. And they gave me a link. It was either Jeannie or Andy that gave me that. I'm sorry, I forgot who it was. Probably, it might have been Jeannie. I think it was you, Jeannie. You gave me that link. And somebody else also came up with it as well. There were 2 of you. So I went to the video and went, oh, okay. I wondered what those dotted lines on the edge of the ruler were for. Hi, Fidel. And yeah, you can cut 2.25 inch or 3.25 inch or whatever inch lines if you use that little marking. And I learned some other things about that big ruler that I didn't know. It does a lot more than just what I bought it for. Well, I'd been thinking about buying another one because mine is cracked and I have it held together with some packing tape. It works okay, but they're very thin, those rulers, and they're very wobbly. So you got to be careful with them, because you can break them, like crack the edge on them easily. So I went on to Amazon and they had it there, and they're not a cheap ruler. It was over $100 to get it. I think with tax on it, it was free shipping, it was Prime. So about $116. But I decided, yeah, I think I'll get one because this one also, they've upgraded it a little bit and it had new markings on it that did other things. And I thought, well, that would be good to have. So I bought one. It came. The box was a little damaged that it came in. And I thought, uh-oh, that's not good. So sure enough, when I took it out of the box, it had a crack in the edge of it. Now, I could have done the same thing with that, and I eventually did, putting the clear plastic packing tape over it, and it worked fine. But the point is, it's a brand new ruler, and I wasn't the one that cracked it. It came that way. So I went online to Amazon. And the squeaky wheel does get the oil, but it is very tricky with them. So I'm going to tell you what I did in case you ever run into a problem like this, and maybe this will work for you. So if there's a little known spot on Amazon, you have to go into your account, you have to go into your orders, you've got to go into one order, and then scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you will find something called chat. And you can click on chat and you will get somebody pretty quick on the chat line. You can also phone them, and usually they answer fairly quickly as well. But a lot of people will go into the first stage, which is, it says if you have a complaint, then they outline what you should do. And it involves, first of all, contacting the seller through Amazon, telling them what the problem is, waiting 48 hours or something for a reply, and then go to another tier of that. And so you can be working on this for several weeks. If you go to the chat mode, it's a little bit more instantaneous. And I'd done this with something else before, so I knew about it. So I went in and I got somebody on there, and I explained to this person, okay, what had happened, what I just said to you. And he said, okay, I will send you a instructions for returning it to us with a return label. Well, I didn't really want to do that because I'm thinking, so I wrote to him. I didn't let him off the hook on that one. That was his standard first level tier. Okay, he was reading from a script. I could tell that. I said, well, he said, would that be okay? And I said, actually, it's not okay. I said, I spent over $100 on this ruler. It came damaged. The box was damaged. The ruler was damaged. I said, I could possibly mend it. But the point is, I didn't expect it to come broken. And I said, I need that ruler now. And I don't know how long it's going to take. And he said, well, I said, is there any...
how long it'll take if you reorder it?
Yeah, reorder it and everything. And then while I'm talking to him, I'm looking on Amazon, and that ruler had disappeared. Well, actually, that ruler still existed, but then I had to pay import fees on it for some reason. And it wasn't going to come until January or whatever. So I wasn't too impressed with that. So I said, nope, that's not good enough. What else can you do for it? He says, well, he said, I can issue you a credit towards that. He says, and you just hang on to the ruler. And I said, well, okay. And he said he could offer me $29.99 on my account. And I thought, $29.99, this was $116. And he said, would that be good enough? And I said, no, it would not be. I said, actually, I would expect to get more than that. Like, I was kind of aiming towards 50% on this. I mean, I was nice to the guy and everything. He says, well, I'm sorry. He said, but I am not authorized to give anything more than that. And I said, okay, well, I understand. I said, so, okay, I figured, cut my losses. I know I can mend it. I'll get $29.99 credit on my account. Not like I'm not going to use that. So we'll just leave it at that. So I said, okay, well, that'll be fine then. I'll take that. But I said also, so he says, okay, well, I'm processing that. It'll take it, 4 hours, 5 hours to show up in your account and all that kind of thing. And I said to him, I had a credit issued to me once before for $10, and I was told the same thing, and it never showed up on my account. Who would I contact about that? Well, he was very apologetic. So sorry about that. And he said, well, all you have to do is, and he gives me the number of Amazon to call about if it didn't come through. Well, no. So I'm pressing the issue. I said, okay, the other issue I have is, I said, with your delivery people. This is not the first thing I've received damaged from Amazon before. Um, who do I need to speak to about this to register a complaint against your delivery service, or, to get that? Well, he says, sir, I can help you with that. I have already noted that. I'm so sorry you're having that. And he says, I will make sure this goes to the right department and that they definitely look after that. That's me paraphrasing what he said. What he said was basically that, but it was, it was a cut and paste message from his script. And I said, well, no, I would be much more comfortable, I said, speaking to somebody about that. I wasn't letting them off the hook. I said, so you've already done what you can do for me. I understand that. But could I be put into contact with somebody that has a little bit more seniority? Somebody that had more authority or whatever. Because I wasn't letting this go. And he actually came back and he says, I will connect you with someone. And suddenly he disappeared from the chat. But then this other name came up. And this other person. These names, by the way, are all names I cannot pronounce. They're all Indian names, background. That's one reason why I like using chat, because there isn't any accent. So I can understand them. So I got this other person on the line. And, they're very, hello, how are you today? And how can I help you? And I said, okay. I was talking to somebody else. I said, can you go and look at the conversation? Because I figured they could, because they have a transcript of it all. And he said, yes, just give me a moment and I'll review that. So he didn't, came back. And he says, well, I'm so sorry, that you've had that problem and everything. And I said, well, he says, I can have that department, representative of that department that looks after that, contact you to discuss the issue. And I said, okay, thank you very much. And I said, will that be done by email or will that be done by phone? He says, if you give me your phone number, he says, I can have them call you. So I gave him my cell phone number and I asked, so how long is this going to take? Because I'm figuring I'm going to get the brush off. And I was about to ask, so who do I call when no one calls me, kind of a thing. Because that's what I'm expecting. My cell phone was starting to ring. Right then and there, I hadn't finished talking to the guy. Picked up the phone and it was a person from that department there. And this was a person that had a little bit more seniority as well. So I thanked the guy online, got rid of him, went to the phone, and told this person the whole story about the ruler coming damaged, blah, blah, being only offered $29.99 and, delivery that. And she says, just give me one moment, sir, to review all of that, and I'll be right back. She was gone 30 seconds, came back in and says, okay, sir, would I can issue you a credit for the full amount of that ruler to your account. Would you like it as a gift certificate, Amazon gift certificate, or as a credit? Now I got thinking, okay, the credit thing I don't believe in, because one thing I didn't tell you was when Amazon issues you a credit for something, it's only good on products. There's fine print. It's only good on products that Amazon supplies and Amazon ships. In other words, not from a third-party seller. Now, you trying to find out that is not easy. You can do a search for that information and you will find products that come up that say, usually the ones that are called Amazon Basics are the ones in that. But I would have liked to have used that credit towards some filament for my 3D printer. Well, none of those are supplied by Amazon. They're third-party companies that go through Amazon to sell them. So I wouldn't have been able to use the credit. So when she said she'd give me either a credit or a gift certificate, I figured in my brain, if I get a credit, I'm going to have the same problem. It's only going to be for things that Amazon fulfills, not third-party ones. I said, well, I would take an Amazon gift certificate, please. And she says, okay, no problem. And now I have, and it's up there on my account and the whole thing. Activate it. There is $129.98 or something, because that included the tax and everything on that ruler. Amazon gift certificate. And she also told me, she sent me an email telling me all about this stuff as well after our conversation with a confirmation number about it if I had any problems, and said in the instructions I did not need to send the product back. I could keep it, or I could donate it to charity, or give it away. I got a free ruler out of it. So I'm impressed, but I did have to push the issue. So I guess the lesson I have learned here is if it's something serious to you on Amazon, push. I was never nasty. I wasn't insulting. I even thanked the guy. I said, I fully understand your position. That's great. And the whole bit. And so the squeaky wheel gets the oil on it. So I was really happy about that. Very proud of myself with that. Hi, Andy.
Yeah, because normally we don't really have too much of a problem.
No,
with
not
deliveries.
usually have a problem with that. Just looking here at the fidget toy is a great stocking stuffer idea. I love the colors. The girls will love those. And please put my name on the gnome. Okay, I'll sell it to you, Marilyn. I'll sell it to you for $10, but shipping's going to kill you. That's about $300. Morgan says I like cheese. Okay, I'm happy for you, Morgan. I like cheese too. Fidel, hold on, a little late. Okay. Yeah, it was Eugenie. I knew. Angel says I think they are a little thicker than the shape cut ruler I have. Yeah, they're not that thick though. They could make them a little thicker, I think, because there's so many slits in that ruler. It's very easy for them to bend a little bit, and it just snaps the outer rim, just below, right where one of the slots are. So actually, I was thinking of taking my packing tape on the new one and reinforcing it all the way around with packing tape, and see if that will help out with that. And Laura says, good information about Amazon. I'll keep that in mind for the future. Thank you. Yeah, Amazon, people bitch about Amazon all the time. It's a love-hate relationship. They're a huge corporation, but I will say anytime that I've really had to deal with them because I've had a problem, they have usually responded very quickly and have usually given me satisfaction from it. So, you shouldn't be afraid to if you've had something that you don't think is right, let them know. I think they appreciate that too. And, those reviews and things, they take those reviews very seriously. I have written reviews on products that I got that just didn't live up to what they were advertised to do, and they were from third-party vendors. And I've written a review, and I've written a bad review. And I've said exactly what the problem was, why I was disappointed in it. I've gotten emails back through Amazon from the third-party seller trying to make amends for it, because apparently Amazon, if they get too many bad reviews, they'll cut them off. They won't carry their products anymore. Now Jeannie says her first stripology ruler arrived damaged too. Yeah. Well, it's very easy to damage them. And the way it was packed, it was in a box where it bounced around. It was wrapped in plastic. There was a couple of sheets of packing paper on top of it. But those...
Yeah, I think rulers are actually one of the harder things to ship. That in China.
Yeah, that in China, yeah. How do you get a whole country in a box? Little tongue humor there, very little. But anyways, I was happy about that. So I thought I'd share that information with you because, everybody's buying from Amazon these days. So, yeah, I don't think too much information is too much. So, speaking of information, one of our subscribers, and did Wendy sign on? Wendy, are you there? I don't know if Wendy is here or not. I don't know.
I
think we saw her, didn't we?
Yeah.
I got a couple of questions from Wendy. They're quilting and sewing questions, but I think they're really good questions. And we could wait and save. Why is my talking?
Probably you said something that sounded like Siri.
It's been recording me.
Oh.
Everything I was just saying about Amazon came up on my watch.
Oh.
Okay, I didn't say its name. It's spying on me. Okay, so anyways, as I was saying, these questions I think are really good questions, and I could save them for So Chatty. Maybe I should have. But I think we're going to answer them here because I know Wendy comes on here as a regular too. So anyways, here's some of Wendy's questions. The first question she asks is, do you or Walter cut all pieces of a quilt or project before you start sewing or as you need them? Well, what do you do?
Well, most of the time, if I'm making a garment, and it's one that I've made before, I cut all my pieces at once for my project because I like having them. And I usually interface them all too at the same time.
I'm just getting rid of somebody here.
Anyway, so that's usually what I do, unless I'm taking a class, and if I'm taking a class and the instructor might say to me, well, don't cut out this piece right away, we'll wait, or something, I may not cut that piece right away. Or if I'm unsure about a piece that I might have to alter, I might not cut it. But most of the time I cut all the pieces at once.
With a quilt, I've done both, but I have learned that when you're cutting out a lot of pieces for a quilt, you're probably better off to not cut everything at once because your measurements can change because of your seam allowance, the way you've cut them, whatever. Sometimes there's mistakes in patterns too. And I have had occasions where I've cut out the whole quilt before I've ever started sewing it, and then halfway through putting the quilt together I get to one section where I need these other pieces and they're not cut right, or I made a mistake in cutting them. So what I do is I only cut I look at the steps and I'll only cut the pieces for the first couple of steps and then go from there. It might take you a little longer, but you have a better chance, I think, of not wasting fabric and that in case you do make a mistake with it. Next question she asks is, also, after you sew set strips together, do you subcut or wait until you start to put it all together? Well, I guess that's more of a quilting question than a sewing one. Yeah, the same thing applies. I do not do the subcutting until I need those pieces when it comes its time in the pattern for exactly the same reasons I mentioned just a moment ago. And then she says, I'm trying to get my quilts to have better points and lay flatter. Okay, points are tricky. A lot of it has to do about the accuracy of your cutting and when you're squaring them up. And like, for example, if you're doing a half square triangle or say flying geese, and the points are important. And if you want to see a good quilt that's been made by somebody that has experience as opposed to somebody who has less experience, look at the points on their quilt, especially on flying geese. And flying geese are those pieces that have little triangles going down. If the point looks like it's been buried into the seam, then they didn't do it properly. Now, there's many reasons why that can happen. One is that they haven't been cut properly, or their 1/4 inch seam allowance is off. But even if they've cut them properly and their 1/4 inch seam allowance is accurate, you can still have a problem. And so I learned this trick somewhere. When you're sewing a point piece to, say, a plain block or a strip or something like that, when you put the two pieces of fabric together, put the point piece on the top so you can see the stitching intersections that made the point in the first place. And then do your 1/4 inch seam allowance. But when you come to that point, like, look ahead a little bit. And if it looks like your stitch is going to come down and on the inside of where those two seam lines on the triangle intersect, then slightly move over, veer a little bit over so that you can miss that, then come back. You don't have to veer very much. We're only talking here maybe the width of a stitch, maybe 2. And yes, your seam is not going to be perfectly straight, but when you press it, when you press your seam allowance, you won't notice that. Now, I mean, if you're way off and you got to go like, whoa, yeah, no, you've got a problem there. But that is one way so that you will definitely have points. And then you're saying about them laying flat or lay flatter. Press the hell out of them. Just steam them. What I do is well, first of all, I make sure that I have pressed my seams in the direction that is suggested by the pattern. And then you could press them open if it's giving you a problem. I hate pressing seams open though, although lately I've been doing that more and more on more things because that will allow your piece to lay flat as well if you press them open, you know, butterfly them. The other way to do it is take a dry iron, hold it down for 5-10 seconds on top of that piece, put a little pressure on it, then hit it with steam. But don't move your iron when you hit it with the steam because you may have cut your piece on the bias, and often happens with points, and that could stretch your piece. So that's my suggestion. Or get some a pressing solution. Either use Mary's Best Press. I was going to say Mary's Best Breast. Oops. Well, you could use that too, but that might be a totally different ballgame. I'm sure Mary wouldn't like that either. It'd be a bit hot. What was I saying?
Mary's Best Press.
Mary's Best Press. Or the stuff I really love, and Dana's on here, and she can speak to this too, because I know she uses it. It's Acorn's Precision Pressing Solution. It is excellent. That will make your seams lay flat, no problem. It's a spray. You just give it a little mist of that spray, put your iron down on it, and your seams will press, or whatever piece you're doing will lay very, very flat. It is great stuff. It is so great that I buy it by the gallon bottle when I can get it. It's not particularly cheap, but it's not all that expensive either, given, you know, the nature of the kind of stuff. So, but that will work as well. So, yeah. Hi, Veronica. Hi,
Yeah,
Glenda.
I made my shirt, so that's finally done.
That's done, yeah. And Wendy had a lot of questions. Also, I'd like to do borders better. I'm not sure what your problem might be with borders. And I'll be honest, I do borders not the way that the professionals say you should do it. And I don't know why they do it this way. I guess it has to do with warping. So maybe that's what you're talking about. Maybe your borders are warping a little bit. Well, what they tell you to do is find the center of your border piece and then find the center of your quilt on the edge. Mark both of those lightly with a marking pencil or whatever. And then lay your border on top of the quilt edge like you normally would, you know, right sides together. Clip it or pin it all the way down, but start in the center where those two center line marks are. And that is supposed to keep it from warping. I don't think I've ever had a problem with warping. But the one thing that's important that I do is I definitely clip my borders. I don't worry about finding the center mark on them. What I do is I have a piece of fabric that is longer than my quilt on the side I'm putting the border on. And I start at the top of the quilt and lay the two together, but I clip it all the way down. So I may have extra border fabric hanging over the edge, but then I do my 1/4 inch seam allowance. I press it over the seam allowance, and then I just trim off by lining up it with the edge of the quilt, straight line it, and cut off the piece. I haven't had any problems doing it that way. But I think the secret there is making sure you pin or clip it really well. That's why I love Wonder Clips, because they do a wonderful job. They're all Wonder. So I hope that gives you some help, Wendy. Now, Wendy asked me another question. Another question, she says, should someone use their walking foot when piecing a quilt together? Well, first of all, you said you use a walking foot.
I use a walking foot occasionally on shirts or something, especially if it's stretchy material, so that both both sides of the stretchy material feed at the same time, because sometimes you get bunching if you're using stretchy material, and I found that using a walking foot will help reduce that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a walking foot is actually a really good tool. And if you don't know what a walking foot is basically a special foot that has a set of like feed dog like prongs on the top of the foot that work in conjunction with your feed dogs in your sewing machine. So your fabric is not just being pulled from underneath, but it's being pulled on top. And so if you've got very slippery fabric or you got stretchy fabric or whatever, they work really well for that. Now, in terms of piecing, I don't use a walking foot to piece fabric together, but I use a walking foot when I've got my sandwich made and I'm putting my binding on, or if I'm trying to do some walking foot quilting, of course, in the name itself.
I sometimes use a walking foot to set in a sleeve because I find it helps with easing a sleeve in.
Now, one time you might want to use your walking foot when you're piecing is if you have you're trying to line up your seam allowances, let's say, or let's say you had two strips of fabric that were both pieced, so you've got to match up the seams. Basically you got to match up your intersections, okay, on both fabrics, and sometimes that you can't get them bang on and you want them to nest with each other. So if you use your walking foot for that and put the piece, no, I got to get this right. I think if you put the piece that is longer, that has more, I don't know what you call it, slack or that in it, put that on top and feed it through your walking foot. Because of the way the walking foot works on the top and on the bottom, it will pull one of the pieces, the one on top, through a little bit faster than the one on the bottom. So,
that's right. If the one on the bottom is a little shorter.
So you can basically ease your fabric into the right spot. I don't know how much sense the way I'm explaining this means to any of you. If you're quilters, most of you probably know what I'm talking about. But it's almost a visual that I need to show you. Maybe that's something I should show on Idiot Quilter with that. So that's one time when I would use my walking foot. But generally speaking, for piecing...
Well, Patsy says the longer piece goes on the bottom.
Oh, it's the longer piece on the bottom?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I get the two mixed up with it, because I don't do it very often. I have my own way of making them match up. It's by sheer force with them. Yeah, okay, that's a good way to put it, Angel. Yeah, the fuller piece goes on the bottom. Okay, yeah, all right, so that's what I'm talking about. Do you use a separate attached walking foot, or do you just use the pull-down gizmo on your Gnome? There is no pull-down gizmo on the Gnome, not for walking foot. That little pull-down gizmo works with the buttonholer.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the walking foot.
Has nothing to do with the walking foot.
No.
The AccuFeed walking system has a special hook in the back.
Yeah.
To feed to that's if you have an advanced machine that has the AccuFeed system.
Yeah, so I hope we're understanding what you're saying there, Marilyn. Right.
Actually, Marlene, there's several attachments you can get for the AccuFeed system that have you can get a blind hem foot, you can get a stitch in a ditch. Blind hem and stitch in the ditch foot is pretty much the same. And you can get a 1/4 inch foot as well, but they're usually optional.
Yeah. The AccuFeed.
Yeah, it's not really a pull down. What it does is you've got a special foot that attaches into the back of the machine, and that's actually, it's sort of an integrated walking foot.
No, sorry, Patsy. The Gnome AccuFeed is a walking foot. It's just a patented technology for Gnome, and they call it AccuFeed, but it is a walking foot. Now, you might be thinking of a walking foot that has the little bar that sits over top of your needle holder on the machine. That's the standard types of walking feet, but the Gnome AccuFeed is a walking foot.
Yeah, it's just that it has a special feed system that hooks into the back of the machine.
Yeah. maybe that's something we should do on So Chatty. Maybe we should go over the AccuFeed system and show people what we're talking about. Longer piece goes on the feed dogs if you're not using a walking foot. I didn't think it mattered with a walking foot. The older Horizon 7700 had the fold down AccuFeed system.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
did it?
So,
Oh,
all
okay.
right.
Didn't know
Okay.
that. All right.
So, like, we have the newer machines,
Yeah.
and the newer machines have
The hook thing.
a hook in the
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so if you're not using a walking foot, I didn't think it mattered with a walking foot. Longer piece goes on the feed dogs if you're not using a. I guess yeah, okay. Yeah. What you're saying makes sense too. Yeah. But you can do it with the AccuFeed foot as well that way. But yeah, you're right. So yeah. Um
Yeah, Gnome doesn't really call it. They call it.
No,
the
they call
AccuFeed
it an
system.
AccuFeed. Yeah, I see what you mean, Patsy. Now,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, there's so many different terminologies depending on
And
the
I'm
company.
sure every manufacturer has its own version.
But anyways, we maybe should do on a So Chatty go over that system because it's very confusing. In fact, well, a friend of mine on the Quilter's Way, he has a Gnome with the AccuFeed system, and he was saying he was having a lot of problems with it because he was trying to use it to quilt with, like do walking foot quilting with it, and it wasn't pulling his fabric through properly. It was hung out, and I said, "Did you push the button that activates it?" And he said, "There's a button," and I says, "Yeah." Now the ironic point was I didn't know that either, and I had discovered it actually just about a day or two before he brought that question up to me with it, and yeah.
Yeah, but my 6700 has the AccuFeed, but it doesn't have a button on it.
Doesn't have a button for it, no. But he was using a 12,000 and it had the button. So, oh, yeah, there's Wendy. So we're answering your questions, Wendy. But anyways, so that was that. And I think Wendy had one more question. Should I be ironing on a hard surface instead of my ironing board? I heard someone say that. This is an interesting question, and maybe some of you people can get in on this one because I don't know what to say about that because I have done both. Now, what do you mean by a hard surface? I have a pressing board, basically, and it's a piece of plywood, 3/4 inch plywood. I wrapped it in batting and then a piece of canvas, and that's what I ironed on all the time until I got my wool mat. And actually, my wool mat sits on top of that system, and that's what I press on all the time. Now, there are some times when I'll take the wool mat off and just use the harder surface, and I'm trying to think why I would do that because I've done it. And
Did you need a bigger surface?
yeah, I think that's the only reason I do. I needed a bigger surface than the wool mat I have. I like a firm surface with a little give to it when I iron because if your surface is too hard, when you're doing quilt pieces and you've got your seams facing down on the surface of the cutting or the ironing surface, there's no give. So you really aren't pressing. If you have it on a softer surface, your fabric's going to sink a little bit down into it. Now, when I say softer, I mean like a wool pressing mat. And I think that'll allow you to press a little bit better. But I'm just saying this isn't anything I've heard for sure. This is just my feeling from what I'm doing. So if anybody else has some ideas.
I use a wool pressing mat for my individual pieces for when I'm doing sewing a shirt together. But if I really want to iron the shirt totally, I need to use the ironing board type of thing. But I don't usually do that because I just need to press a certain seam or something. And I always do it on a wool mat. So.
Yeah. I do not like ironing quilt pieces, though, on a standard ironing board. Because not only do you have the pad, which has a little give to it, but the whole ironing board, well, at least ours, it has a bit of a spring action to it. And if you press too hard, you can actually collapse the ironing board.
Well, actually, we need a new ironing
well,
board.
Maybe it's just our ironing board. But so Teresa says ironing depends on your ironing board. If the steel surface is the honeycomb pattern, the pattern can sometimes show up on your fabric. Interesting. Okay, didn't know that. But like I said, I seldom ever use an ironing board. Marilyn says, I have an older 6600 Gnome with AccuFeed, and now I have a Bernina. So, Marilyn, out of the two of them, which one do you like better? Because doesn't Bernina actually, isn't their walking foot built right into the machine, like it's always there kind of a thing? Or am I wrong about that? Oh, Marilyn says, I wish I had a clapper for really flat seams. Well, you have a clapper.
I have a clapper. I don't use it that often.
And I have a clapper, and I have not used it at all. Now, having said that, I just saw on several sites, quilting store sites, that they're selling the clappers, and they're singing the praises of how great they are for flattening your seams, especially really bulky seams in a quilt. So it seems it's crossing over into the quilting world.
I do use it occasionally. If my seams are I'm having a hard time getting my seams to press down, I'll use the clapper. I also have sewing hems that I do use for sewing around, you know, the neckline and the sleeves. So because it gives you a curved surface to sew on or to press on.
See, I've never bothered, but I'm a little lazy.
Well, see, you wouldn't need to do it with a quilt, but I mean, when you're pressing a circular
okay,
thing, you need a ham. So
yeah, but now if you're making bags, I know in that last bag that I made from Annie's Bags, she used a clapper on one of the. It was around its surface that you had to sort of flatten in. Angel says she uses plywood batting, thicker fabric option too, but she also uses a clapper.
Marilyn says they call it a dual feed.
A dual feed, that's what they call it on a Bernina. Yeah. And I have a crapper. Oops, use a clapper. A little shitty humor there, right, Betsy? Yeah. They sell a walking foot, Marilyn says, which attaches separately, and that will sew over anything. Oh, okay. Because I've seen, you know, the pictures of the Berninas, and that's what it looked like to me. Now, the only thing is, Marilyn, you didn't answer my question. Do you like your the Bernina better than a Gnome? Because there's something about Bernina people. It's almost a cult. Like, everybody goes, oh, I have a Bernina, and it's...
Jeannie says higher end Berninas have the equivalent of the AccuFeed.
Okay. So, I don't know. If I was to buy another sewing machine, I think I would seriously look into Berninas. I mean, I love my Gnome, but my M7. But...
Might be interesting to see what the difference is.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I know that there's a difference in price.
Yeah.
Because Berninas are a lot more expensive than the equivalent in the Gnome, I think. But anyways, answer is yes. Okay, so Marilyn does like the Bernina. Pat says Bernina people are stuck up, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Patsy
That's
and
a nice
Marilyn.
way to say
Would
it.
you two like to fight it out on here? Like throw emojis at each other? The clapper comes in when you want to get a crisp seam but don't want to scorch the fabric by using the iron too long. The clapper absorbs the heat and steam and keeps it on the seam longer. Oh, okay. But never had a higher end Gnome, so really do not know. Okay. Well, I want to see you have a fight. My mother had a Bernina machines. I like my Baby Locks better. And Kathy says, I love my Bernina, but it's probably 20 years old now. And Pat says, I think the Gnome is a better machine, in her humble opinion. I think Bernina and Faf have the same cult following. I can't afford it either. Yeah, well, you see, it's whatever you get used to, right?
I mean, I do like my Gnome 6700. It's really the only machine I've used more recently. It has, it does sew very quietly. I like the way it sews.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It's whatever you get used to, and if it works for you and you're happy with it, then that's the machine for you, right? I guess.
I guess it's whatever you get used to,
Yeah.
really.
I mean, there's no sense getting all uptight and fighting over sewing machines because what?
I mean, the
One
ultimate
person
thing,
likes.
if it produces a product you want.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's so many of them on the market and so many with different features in the whole bit. You know, it's hard to say. So anyways, Wendy, I hope we answered your questions. Those were good questions. Okay, so we went out last night. We went to a drag show. Now, I have been very apprehensive about doing this. This is at our local gay club. We haven't been there in years. Well, Walter was at it recently, but that was because they had rented the hall out for a sewing class that he had taken. but we haven't been there in probably 6, 7 years. I don't know, maybe longer. With it, and
The only reason I went is the guy that teaches my sewing class was doing drag there, which he doesn't do very often, but he did it there. Was a fundraiser because part of the gay club in Oshawa is a food bank, and they were raising money for the food bank. So.
Yeah. So we went to support him, and we did have to show that we had been double vaxxed. We had the QR code and everything, and they scanned it at the door, and then we had to fill out their contact sheet, so in case there's anybody in there. So everybody that was allowed in were double vaxxed. They supposedly had a limit. They have 25% in there, although it was pretty full.
Yeah, it seemed pretty full.
It seemed a little higher than what 20, but then I don't know what their capacity is supposed to be. And it may have looked more crowded because they had tables all set up too, and they didn't have a dance area because they said if they were to have a dance floor, which they would in the good old days they would have had, they could have by government rules they could only allow a lesser number of people in to the club. Okay, so they were doing everything that they were supposed to do in there.
Actually, they were very organized.
Yeah, they were very organized and everything. So the show was on, and I don't know how you feel about drag shows, if you've ever been to one or not, but to me they're boring, and it doesn't really matter who's performing.
I've seen very few that I considered entertaining.
Yeah, Brendan's dresses, though, which he made himself, were fantastic. Fabulous. They were fabulous, which we expected as well.
See, and Brendan was married before in his previous life, and he has 2 daughters which were in attendance, and their significant others, and his sister was there as well.
Yeah, and then there was another lady from Walter's sewing class that was there with her husband. We sat with them, and he had reserved us a table or whatever. So when we got in there, we were right up in the front, kind of a thing. I think he was a little nervous, probably because his daughters were there and everything as well. But I think he wanted to showcase his sewing skills because, like you said, the dresses that he had, those cost him a lot of money. And next to the outfits that the other 2 performers had on, his were far superior. One of them was wearing what was that? It was like a bodysuit. And it was hideous. It was hideous with it all. The only thing is, Brendan's daughters did his makeup, and they kind of made him look like an old lady. Actually, at one point, he looked like Betty Davis.
Spring chicken, so.
Well, no, but, they kind of put old lady makeup on him. The kind of thing where, maybe I shouldn't say anything too much, but, the old 60s style where ladies would put the white eyeshadow on.
Well, I think they were told to do, extreme makeup.
Oh, were they? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, it was extreme. There was no 2 ways about it. But
he looked good.
He did. He looked good.
He did a good job.
Yeah, he did a good job. And he did a little comedy routine as Ms. Piggy at one point, too. It was fun. But I won't do that again until we no longer have this thing called COVID, because I'm a little nervous that we're going to get a call that somebody got in there and found out they were positive or whatever, because there was a table of yahoos. They had come to support one of the performers, and they were all ones from a local nursing home in our area. Staff for nursing home. And they were basically yahoos through the whole thing. They were all women. They weren't
obeying any of the rules.
They weren't following any of the rules. And during the intermission between the first part of the show and the second part, now they were playing dance music, which it is a club kind of a thing. And I'm still deaf. I'm getting old because the decibel, my watch kept going off telling me, danger, danger, Will Robinson, danger, too loud, you're going to go deaf, danger.
I think I turned that off on mine. So.
Yeah, mine kept going off. But they all got up and started to dance.
And they were told to sit down.
They had their masks off. Well, when you're sitting down and watching the show, most people had their masks off. because we were all double vaxxed kind of thing. But if people were getting up to go outside for a cigarette, they were putting on their mask before they got up from their table. Or if they were going up to the bar to order a drink, they were wearing their mask. The staff were all wearing their masks as well all the time while they were serving and everything else they were doing. So, you know, they were trying to follow the rules. Well, this bunch of Yahoo women got up there and started dancing, and one of the staff members, and the staff members for this club are all volunteers with it. So, you know, they're not getting paid for this. He went over and he spoke to one of them and said, I'm sorry, he says, but the rules are we can't have any dancing because that's the regulations from the government. In order for us to, you know, have this number of people in the club, we can't have any dancing and the whole bit. They ignored him. And they were arguing with him about it. And I felt so bad for the guy. But they were just being yahoos. And then they would just ignore him and they carried on. And so he just gave up, I think. And then more people started to join them on this little square piece of dance floor. And we're sitting right on the edge of that. And they're like 6 inches away from us in the whole bit. I thought, this is why. And the thing that really got me was these were nursing home staff. And they came from a nursing home in our area that's had a really bad reputation for outbreaks through COVID. And although they're supposed to be all double vaxxed now, well, these ones in there had the QR code, so they're supposed to be. I got the feeling this is their attitude. If this is their attitude in their personal life about COVID, then that translates into their professional life as well. And no wonder there were people in their nursing home dying because they were transmitting the disease because they weren't taking it seriously. Now, maybe some people want to argue with me about that point, but I have no respect for those people whatsoever. And when that show was over, I couldn't get out soon enough. And I said to Walter, no, not doing it again. Sorry, I don't care if the Queen comes and performs. I'm not going to something like that. Not while we're still.
No, yeah, there were a few other people that we knew in there that probably were, even though they were double facts, they have, what do you call it? Health situations.
Yeah, they have health situations too that, you know, makes them more susceptible a little bit. Well, they probably shouldn't be there, but they were there. Like, Walter basically tricked me into going because he got the tickets and never told me about getting the tickets for it. And I have to admit, I thought, well, it's a night out. And because we haven't been out for so long, but no, I don't know, maybe I'm getting paranoid. And then last night, now I know that this is not symptoms of COVID because if by chance I came into contact with it and if I was asymptomatic or whatever, it's going to take a couple of weeks for it to show up anyways. But I could not get warm last night when I went to bed. We got home a little after 1 in the morning.
Oh, that's because you went to bed too late.
I was freezing. I was absolutely freezing. And I don't usually freeze. If anything, I'm usually pretty hot in more ways than one.
Oh, yeah, right.
And the whole bit. And my feet were numb. And at one point in the night, I was having some chest pains as well. Now, that's not unusual. I have had that through my whole life, actually.
Don't call me Wally.
Just who's calling you Wally? Oh, yeah, Teresa. Oh, he'll kill you, Teresa. You're dead meat sandwich. We ever meet you face to face, you're going to die now. You never call him Wally. Only I do, and then I stand very far away and make sure there's no sharp instruments in his hands at the time. So I was not comfortable. I'm really now afraid that we're going to get a call saying, you may have come into contact with somebody that was positive, and then we have to go off and get tested and all that stuff. Was it worth it? No. We had one lousy beer and drank. You had a club soda and I had a Diet Sprite because, of course, we're driving and ride programs are out there and it's zero tolerance pretty much. So we had that beer right at the very beginning and we were there 4 hours. So, yeah. But anyways, and then they got our order mixed up. We ordered Blue Light and we got Bud Light. And, American beer. Yuck. Ugh. I don't know how Americans can stand it. American beer.
Well, actually, that beer isn't really American. It's brewed in Canada under
Yeah.
the what do you call it? Under license by the Americans.
Well, it's still their
and
formula.
it's
still
not.
crap.
Yeah, well, it's stronger than the American one.
You know what they always say too? When you're out of bud, tough Schlitz. So, anyways, yeah. So, was it a really enjoyable evening? No. Am I glad I went? No. But we did our thing.
I don't know.
We supported our friend.
We went out for once in the blue moon, so we won't be going out.
We won't be going out again. No. Becoming an old, cranky old man that's some homebody. I'm a hermit. But
yeah, we need to be sitting up on some balcony and criticizing.
Yeah. It's always
criticizing the Muppets.
Yeah. We'd be good at that. Look at that. But the other couple that were sitting at our table, the lady who Walter is in the same class with for sewing with Brendan and the whole bit, they had gone out for dinner before they came to the show. And they said they got sticker shock. Well, first of all, the place they were going to, they had a power failure. And they called them just before they left for it and said, because they had a reservation, said, we can't accommodate you. Our power's out and we don't know how long it's going to be out for. So they went to another place. Now, this other place is a very expensive place before COVID. It's called Wildfire. It's a steakhouse. We've been, twice?
Yeah.
Over the time it first opened. We haven't been in years. The first time we went, I took Walter there for his birthday. It had just recently opened. It cost us, for the two of us, over $300.
No, mind you, we had a lot of stuff.
Now, we had a lot of stuff. We had a cocktail, and we had appetizers, then we had steak and everything.
We had dessert.
And we had dessert, and we had a bottle of wine. Did we have one bottle of wine or two?
No,
we had one bottle of wine. So, yeah, it was, but it was over 300. However, that was not unexpected for what we had. But this couple...
We also had high-end...
Yes.
What we were eating.
Yeah, we were eating, we weren't getting a burger. They don't even have burgers. Or maybe they do.
Yeah, they do.
But they're high-end burgers. Yeah, $20 bucks. Well, they were. They're probably like $30 now.
That's what their website says.
Oh, is it? Well, anyways, she was telling us they had one beer each. They didn't have any wine or anything else. They drank just water. And one had ribs, one had a steak. And one of them had creme brulee for dessert. The other one didn't have any dessert. And they said the total bill for the two of them was $162. And I don't know if that included how much they left for a tip and the tax or what. But yeah, that's expensive. But I'm hearing that all restaurants are going that way now. It's sticker shock.
And I don't think it's going down, especially with food prices going up.
Yeah. So, yeah. Blame it on COVID.
Wall-E. No, I'm not a wall. Actually, when I grew up, my mother used to call me Vully.
I thought she called you shithead.
No, she called me Vully because she couldn't pronounce W. But anyway, and when all the kids in my neighborhood used to call me Wally, and that was fine when I was a little kid. But when I got more adult, I always, if somebody said to me, what do you want to be called? I always said either Walter or Walt. You can call me Walt or Walter, depending on what you want, but never Wally, right? Because I never liked the word. I never liked Wally. But actually, there was a lady that I used to work with when I worked in Toronto, and she used to go around and call all the guys' names with a Y. So E. Bob became Bobby, Bill became Billy,
Johnny.
Rich became Richie, and stuff like that. And I looked at her one day and I said, I don't care what you call me. You call me Walter or Walt. I said, never Wally. And she never did. So all the guys would say, how come you don't call him Wally? She says, well, he told me not to.
Well, I'm the same way. If someone calls me Stevie, I'll kill them. They can call me Steve, they can call me Steven, but they cannot call me Stevie. And I have one friend who has for years knows that, and she does it as a joke. She will call me Stevie. Just that I don't bother. I know she's doing it to be funny.
Well, that guy that used to live next door to your parents.
Roger.
He used to call me Wally. He used to drive me nuts.
Yeah, he used to, and he didn't do it because he was trying to upset you. That was just, I think he knew. Well, he was a cop, so who knows?
Teresa says she makes her own steak at home and spoiled me. Now I won't pay restaurant prices. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I've gotten used to making steak a certain way now, and it's much better than what we get in a
Yeah.
restaurant. So,
Well, Walter has a sous vide,
yeah.
and I think we've talked about that before to make it, but it does turn out really nice. But I know it's like when I think about how much money we have saved during the course of COVID by not going out to eat, well, it basically bought us a long arm. So, in a way. Um, I was looking up here. Yeah, Teresa says American beer is like dirty dishwater. Yeah, it is. Pat says you can call me anything, just don't call me late for dinner. Yeah. You sound like my brother. He was Terry until he started school. Then he was Therese. Or Terrence. Sorry, Therese. Well, maybe he's that too. I don't know. When he came home from university the first time, he was wearing a shirt that said Terry. Has been since. Well, you want to know something? My mother always insisted that my name was Stephen. It was not Steve. And so when I introduce myself to people, I call myself Stephen. But some people will say to me, well, do you prefer to be called Stephen or Steve? And I say, it doesn't matter. Either way, don't call me Stevie. Or I have referred to myself as Steve.
Well, I call you Steve all the time.
Yeah, you do, asshole.
And as my mother used to call you, Steve.
Steve. Steve. Yes, jawohl. But I don't care what they call me. As long as they don't call me shithead. Well, they've done that before too. So
Or asshole.
Or asshole. I've been called that many times. Mainly from you. But anyways, yeah, I guess you can get too upset about what people call you. I don't know. And gay guys especially will always go by the full.
Often, yeah, full name.
Like Larry
Steven.
is Lawrence. Harry is Harold. Jerry is Gerald or whatever, or something like that. That's pretentious. Whatever. But if that's what you want to be called, then fine. Just don't get their pronouns mixed up because you'll hear about that.
Of course, you don't want. My sister goes by Jessie, but you don't. She doesn't want to be called by her real name.
Yitzka?
Yitzka.
Yitzka. Yitzka. It sounds like a dance. Yitzka.
Yitzka.
We're doing the Yitzka. I picture a gypsy with a tambourine. Oh, can't call them gypsies anymore. I don't know what you call them. Traveling people or something. So anyway, so that with the whole experience at the club, now that's making me second think about my sisters on Christmas Day.
Mm.
I mean, my sister and her kids have all have been double vaxxed and the whole bit, but she's having her husband's family over. Well, his parents are coming. They're elderly, but they've both been double vaxxed and everything like that. And I think I think everybody that is going have all been double vaxxed because my brother-in-law's family are very conscientious about that kind of thing too. But it's still like 10 of us, maybe 12.
Well, they're asking people to limit to guests to 25.
Oh, well, there won't be 25. And my sister's house is kind of small on the main floor and the whole bit. And I do want to go, but I know that, for the sake to now after this, I mean, if I get a call and got to be tested or whatever, well, you have to be
Let's
quarantined.
not worry about that.
Well, I do worry about it. What's it to you? You just throw all caution to the wind. Maybe you should be a long-term caregiver, whatever. Maybe you should work in a nursing home. Maybe you should let your hair grow long, put on a skirt, and be one of those bitches that was on that pole that was there. Yeah, they had a pole, like for pole dancing. And one of those crazy yahoos, she was up there trying. I would have liked to. She didn't do too much on it. I would have liked to see her get up there and fall on her fat ass because she did have a fat ass, and she was wagging it in everybody's face. Like this was not. She didn't look like she was 21 or 22. She looked more like she was probably.
We're talking one of the nursing home staff.
She looked like she was probably in her early 30s with it all, and she's.
Actually, I would have been afraid that pole wouldn't hold anything.
Oh well. Of course, that one drag queen, she sort of got up there and then fell off it. But at the end of it, I don't think that was part of the act. She didn't expect that. And Marlene says, my first name is Gladys. Guess what I hate to be called? Gladass? Happy bum? Gladiola?
Yeah, well, a lot of people have names that they don't really go by, so.
I am. But anyway, so yeah, that's what's Christmas. We're only 12 sleeps away, I guess, aren't we? Something like that. So this week I had an interview, and I don't see Angela on here today, but I haven't had any interviews in a while, as you probably know if you watch the Idiot Quilter Presents. And hint, 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 there are people on here that I would like to interview. I've interviewed some of you, but not all of you. But anyways, it's a really interesting interview, and it'll go up on Tuesday. So be sure to check it out. Angela is a sewist and a quilter. And I featured, I think it was last week. I get my weeks mixed up. It was either last week or it's this week coming, where she sent me some pictures of a couple of her creations. And one of them is her wedding dress that she made. And wow, it is quite the dress and looks very, very professional. And we got talking about other things too. After the interview was over, we had a pleasant conversation about all kinds of things. So I think I now have a new Zoom coffee person buddy. She wants to meet on Zoom every now and then to have a chit chat. So that's fine. Yeah. Any of the rest of you ever want to do that on a little bit more personal level, then yeah, just send me a Zoom link and we can set it up.
Yeah, Teresa, I hope your surgery goes on time. I know we've got this new variant or whatever, and hopefully it doesn't screw things up for you.
We've been waiting for the knee for 2 years. Yeah. Yeah, my father had both of his knees replaced at one point in time too. And our hairdresser, she had a hip replacement just before COVID happened. And she was in a lot of pain before she had that done. And she was relatively young for it too, because she's only like 51 or so. And she was only at that point, only under 50, I think, when she had it done. But it was really bad. But she said it was well worth it. I mean, the recovery time was a bit long for it. I guess, though, they say that recovery time for a hip replacement is less than one for a knee replacement.
Knees are a fairly complicated thing to do.
So I hope all that goes well for you, Teresa, because I'm sure you're in a lot of pain right now. Yeah, so what else? Well, what are we watching? I was watching Alex Rider on Prime. I love that show. I watched the first season last year, and the second season just came out, and I blitzed that. And has anybody been watching that new show? Now, we can't actually get it because it's on HBO Max, and we don't get HBO Max, but I have my ways of getting these things. And it's this new updated version of Sex and the City, but they call it And Just Like That. And it's got all the same characters in it as well, but boy, they aged. Sarah Parker, what's her name? Jessica Parker, what's her name?
I don't know.
Whatever. Boy, she looks old. And anyway, spoiler alert, Big dies in the second episode. So if any of you ever followed,
I think it's been all over the news. So.
Yeah, Big dies in the second episode, heart attack. But I never ever watched Sex and the City. I watched a few of them now and then, but anyways, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if I'll carry on watching more episodes as I can get them or not, but I'll see. And yeah,
we're watching Wheel of Time.
Oh yeah, Wheel of Time. We've been watching Wheel of Time.
I think we saw the last episode, though.
Was that the last one?
I think so.
Oh, that might have been, because I think there were only 6 episodes of that. What was that on Netflix?
No, Amazon Prime.
Well, that was Amazon Prime. Okay, hard to keep the stuff all together. Sarah Jessica Parker. That's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's all we've been watching. And we watched that movie that's the sequel to The Shining, Stephen King's Doctor Sleep. It was
okay. It was kind of weird, though.
It was kind of weird, but so was The Shining.
Yeah. Well, actually, I liked it better than The Shining, but
yeah, I liked it better than The Shining too. But it's worth the watch. And anything else? No. So what do we got coming up this week? Anything?
We gotta try and get our third shot.
Oh yeah, because starting tomorrow, supposedly we qualify for the booster shot, so we'll have to see how that works. Now, they haven't told us though if we need to make an appointment like we did with the other ones, or
Well,
we
I
just walk
think I
in.
have to register for. No, you can't just walk in. You got to make an appointment. So I either have to make an appointment with the
Place where we got
Durham,
the other shot.
or be put on the waiting list for the one that we went last time.
So what do you mean put for the Durham? You mean the Durham Healthcare?
Yeah,
And what if you
you have to call them and book an appointment so you can go to the local
oh yeah
clinic, or I noticed where we went before was a drugstore, which was Rexall. You have to be put on the wait list, but you can't do that till tomorrow.
Well, I would say we put ourselves on the wait list for everything.
Yeah.
And have better odds of it. Because it would be nice to be able to get that booster shot before Christmas, even though it probably takes 2 weeks to kick in, but whatever. I would feel better about that. Teresa says, I think my body parts have expired their warranty date. Best before. Saw it, loved it. And Sarah Jessica Parker. So that's the highlight of next week is trying to get our booster, I guess. Because I don't think there's anything else. And you don't have a sewing class now until after Christmas.
We haven't, and we don't know when the next sewing class is. And I'm not sure when the next sewing class is because so many people have dropped out, or not dropped out. They sign up for the class, and then after the first couple of classes, they drop out, which is kind of disheartening, I think, for the guy that's doing the class.
Yeah.
So you kind of want a full class.
Yeah, really, because I mean, it's really not so much his effort to run this class, even though he's getting sort of paid for it, but for 2 people.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, because there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah.
To do that.
I mean, like everybody's paid for it, and he sends out videos about what he's done, but that's not really the point.
No.
Marilyn says she got sucked into.
Oh, I love Yellowstone. Yeah. I've been watching that. I usually watch it the day after. It comes out on Sunday nights, and I have to. That's another one that. No, that one comes on Prime, I think, and that. So I usually watch it on Monday.
Well, we saw that movie about the dog. What was it
about the dog?
You know, it had Cumberbatch in it. I forget the name. Something of the dog.
Oh, yeah. That was a weird movie too.
Yeah.
Cowboy Dog.
No.
Dog Cowboy. No. I thought that's what it was called. It had cowboy in it. It had dog in it. It's Cowboy Dog. Yes, it was. You're going to try and prove me wrong now, aren't you? Yeah, of course you are. So,
it was Power of the Dog.
Oh, Power of the Dog. But it had cowboys in it. Yeah. So I was close.
Yeah.
It was a weird movie.
It was kind of depressing.
Yeah, it was a very depressing movie. It has gay undertones to it as well, but it was weird. It's worth watching.
It's worth watching,
but it's be prepared.
It was different than I expected it to be.
Yeah, be prepared for something that's really weird. Well, anyways, that's our time. We've been on here long enough now.
Yeah.
So we're going to go and figure out what we're having for dinner. Let's go out and spend $500 on a hamburger. Yeah, no, not happening. Okay, everybody. So thanks for joining us again today, and we'll see. My other things will come out during the week as well, and we'll see you, if not sooner. We'll see you next Sunday for another episode. So have a good week, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.